Some cases seem destined to remain unsolved forever. Evidence disappears, witnesses die, memories fade into nothing. But every now and then, a single overlooked detail can crack open a mystery that's been sealed shut for decades. In March 1975, two young sisters vanished from a busy shopping mall in broad daylight, sparking one of the largest investigations in Maryland history. For nearly 40 years, their case sat cold. Then, detectives found something everyone had missed: a witness, a sketch, and a connection that would finally lead them to the truth. March 25, 1975, started like any other day in Wheaton, Maryland. 12-year-old Sheila Lyon and her 10-year-old sister Catherine walked to Wheaton Plaza, a suburban shopping center where kids often hung out after school. The sisters told their older brother they'd be home for lunch. They never made it back. When the girls didn't return home, their parents immediately contacted police. Within hours, hundreds of volunteers searched the surrounding woods and neighborhoods. The FBI joined the investigation. President Dwight Eisenhower followed updates on the case. News crews from Chicago and New York descended on the quiet suburb. Everyone wanted to find Sheila and Catherine Lyon. Detectives interviewed witnesses who'd been at the mall that day. They followed up on countless tips. They investigated every possible lead. But despite the massive effort, the sisters seemed to have simply vanished without a trace. Days turned into weeks, then months, then years. The case went cold. The investigation boxes were filed away. Fresh detectives would occasionally pull out the old files, hoping new eyes might spot something previous investigators had missed. But nothing ever came of it. By the 2000s, the Lyon sisters case had become a ghost story in Montgomery County, a reminder of innocence lost, justice denied, and a mystery that would probably never be solved. Then in 2012, something changed. The Montgomery County Police Department's cold case unit decided to approach the Lyon sisters' disappearance differently. Instead of treating it like a decades-old mystery, they worked it like a brand new case. Detective Chris Homerock and his team dove into the evidence boxes. They reviewed every interview, every statement, every photograph. They examined old witness reports that had been deemed unreliable or unimportant. And that's when they found him. Lloyd Lee Welch Jr. had contacted Montgomery County Police on April 1, 1975, just days after the sisters vanished. He claimed he'd witnessed their abduction. He said he saw a man with a tape recorder following the girls at the mall. He offered to help with the investigation, but detectives in 1975 quickly dismissed him. They thought he was just another person trying to claim a reward. His statement was filed away and forgotten. For nearly 40 years, Lloyd Welch's name sat buried in those investigation files. Nobody took him seriously. Nobody followed up. Nobody connected the dots. When Detective Homerock's team reviewed Welch's original statement in 2013, they noticed something crucial. They pulled up old mugshots of Welch from the 1970s and compared them to police sketches made at the time of the disappearance. The resemblance was striking, almost exact. The team discovered something else. A teenage witness from 1975 had told police about a strange man at the mall that day. She remembered him because he gave her the creeps. He was completely focused on the Lyon sisters, following them around the shopping center. She'd provided enough details for a police sketch to be created, but somehow that sketch had never been widely circulated. It may not have even been properly distributed within the police department itself. The detectives had their lead. They started digging into Lloyd Welch's background. What they found was disturbing. Welch had multiple convictions for sexual offenses against young girls. He'd been incarcerated since 1997 in a Delaware prison for sexually assaulting a minor. He wasn't just a forgotten witness. He was a convicted predator who'd been at the scene on the day two little girls disappeared. In October 2013, detectives traveled to Delaware to interview Welch in prison. That first interview lasted 8 hours and produced a 232-page transcript. Welch told them he believed the Lyon sisters had been abducted, raped, and burned. He suggested the detectives should just charge him with murder. Over the next few years, investigators interviewed Welch 9 more times. Multiple detectives from various agencies questioned him. He took polygraph tests. His stories kept changing, contradicting himself, adding new details, then denying them. But one thing remained consistent. He knew things about the crime that only someone directly involved would know. The investigation expanded beyond Welch himself. Detectives learned that his uncle, Richard Welch, had worked as a security guard near the Wheaton area in 1975. They discovered the family-owned property in Bedford County, Virginia, about 200 miles from the shopping mall. They started interviewing Welch family members. What emerged was a disturbing picture of a family culture marked by violence, substance abuse, and sexual exploitation. Multiple relatives told investigators about witnessing inappropriate behavior within the family. Some admitted to being victims themselves. Others confirmed they'd seen or heard things they'd kept secret for decades. Two cousins, Henry Parker and Connie Akers, provided particularly crucial testimony. Parker told detectives about a spring day in 1975 when Lloyd Welch unexpectedly appeared at their property on Taylor's Mountain in Virginia. He was carrying duffel bags. Parker said he helped Welch burn 2 Army-style bags that weighed about 60 to 70 pounds each. The bags had red stains on them and smelled like death. Parker said that smell stayed with him for decades. Another witness remembered a large fire at the Taylor's Mountain property that burned for several days in 1975. The fire was memorable because it smelled like burning flesh. Armed with these witness statements, investigators obtained search warrants for multiple properties connected to the Welch family. They focused particularly on a house at 4714 Baltimore Avenue in Hyattsville, Maryland. This was the address Lloyd's father and stepmother had lived at in 1975. It was the same address Lloyd had given when he made his original false statement to police. Detectives brought in a forensics team with specialized equipment. In the basement of that house, they found an exterior entrance that matched descriptions Welch had given in his interviews. Using a blood detection spray under blue light, the team discovered traces of blood from floor to ceiling in the back room. The evidence was there. It had been there all along, waiting to be found. By July 2015, investigators had devoted over 16,000 hours to the case. They'd issued more than 50 search warrants. They'd conducted over 100 formal interviews. The investigation produced nearly 2,000 pages of transcripts just from Welch's interviews alone, plus 29,000 electronic files covering wiretaps, audio recordings, videos, and investigative notes. In July 2015, Lloyd Lee Welch Jr. was indicted for the first-degree murder of Sheila and Catherine Lyon. 2 years later, in September 2017, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 48 years in prison for the Lyon sisters' murders, plus an additional 10 years for an unrelated sexual assault. He will never be eligible for parole. The bodies of Sheila and Catherine Lyon have never been found. Other family members suspected of involvement were either deceased by the time charges were filed, or there wasn't sufficient evidence to prosecute them. Richard Welch was never charged, though investigators believed he likely played a role. His wife Patricia was charged with perjury for providing false information and encouraging family members to stay silent. For John and Mary Lyon, the guilty plea brought a measure of closure after 42 years of not knowing what happened to their daughters. Their son, Jay, had become a detective with the Montgomery County Police Department, continuing to serve the community that had rallied around his family decades earlier. John Lyon thanked the cold case unit for never giving up, for making what he called a beautiful emotional investment in the case and his family. The Lyon sisters case demonstrates something crucial about cold case investigations. Evidence doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it's just waiting to be looked at with fresh eyes. That witness statement from 1975 sat in a file for nearly 4 decades. The sketch that looked remarkably like Lloyd Welch existed all along. The basement with blood evidence was there, undiscovered. What changed wasn't the evidence itself. It was the investigators' willingness to go back, to question old assumptions, to take seriously what earlier detectives had dismissed. Detective Homrock and his team treated a 40-year-old case like it had just happened. They didn't accept that it was unsolvable. They believed someone out there knew something, and they were right. The forgotten witness wasn't forgotten anymore, and 2 little girls who vanished in 1975 finally got justice, even if it came 4 decades too late.